about the politics which we saw under the Zuma administration. Its radicalness, its preparedness to break and defy. Don't forget, there's huge suspicion of the National Treasury for being neoliberal. Was this attacks on National Treasury and against private? Was there something actually valid in those attacks? Was it in fact in the name of a progressive politics? So I think it defamiliarized and it unsettled a whole range of academic debates, and as a result, many academics felt they didn't know how to engage with this phenomena. And I think that remains the case. The betrayal of the Promise Report in academic circles has been applauded internationally in some parts of South Africa, but in other academic circles it's regarded with quite some suspicion and continues to be.
But let me pick up on that. So I think that question is such an interesting one, but can the same question then be applied to politicians? If you put the point as 2009 as the beginning when things just went wrong here, right? And yes, at the moment it seems to be like, when we talk state capture, there's two names, Zuma and the Guptas, right? As if there's nothing else. So has there been an absence, and why, from so many political figures over the last 8-9 years, in terms of criticism of what they saw wrong, besides the last few years, of course?
Well, I would answer this question. I would say that in civil society, in academia, and in politics, there's definitely been a retreat of people that are prepared vigorously to defend democracy in South Africa and to defend principles of non-racialism. So I think there's been an unambiguous retreat from those, from a preparedness to defend those values as intrinsic positive values in and of themselves. And it's given space to a debate which has allowed itself to resonate, in my mind, with ultra-nationalist and in some cases fascist debates happening in the US and parts of Europe. I mean, some of our debates sound in my ear like late 19th century, early 20th century European extreme nationalism of that period. So there's definitely been a retreat of a commitment to democratic values in our academic debates and in our political debates.
Okay, thank you. Let's get the last two we're going to take, then we're going to move on, right? So have you got a mic in your hand? Who's got the mic? So if you can go ahead. But just before you do that, who else has a mic in the hand? You need one. If you can get to the lady over there, please. So maybe that's the last two we'll take then, right? Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dominique Msibi. I am from Outer. The middle towards the end of last year saw the explosion of the Guptas, and they tackled the whales in the pond or in the ocean, in that a lot of the big SOEs were exposed. I want to bring up something that is particularly relevant, but I don't think we're addressing as aggressively as we should, the youth of this country. And with that, using two examples, Dr. Chipkin, I read your paper last week about SASSA, but the other burning issue are the SETAs. We are depriving our youth, the leaders of the future, the people who will sustain the economy of this country, of bettering their lives, of acquiring skills. If I mention organizations or departments like SASSA and the SETAs, they're not the whales, they're not the ESCOMs and the other huge SOEs. They are the little sharks that need to be attended to, because our future depends on the youth that I believe we aren't taking care of right now. A question for you, Dr. Chipkin, is how do you see us tackling these little sharks as opposed to the whales that we have begun to tackle, and we see the difference now of what the work that we've done? What are we going to do about the others that are not in the spotlight as much as the big ones?
Got that. Thank you for that question. Go ahead.
It's a big question. For the purposes here, I would say that we need to focus. A lot of these are not failures simply of criminality or of incompetence or lack of political will. In many cases, what we're seeing are failures of administration. In education, in the payment of grants, in the design of our institutions. I think we need much more attention from civil society and politically on what it takes to build institutions, what it takes to build and create effective administrations, and this is exactly the work that I'm involved in and Parry's involved in. So that would be my answer to the question.
Okay, thank you. Right, the last one, right? Go ahead.
Christian Development Trust. I genuinely don't mean this as a simplistic question, but do you have a view on how long it is likely to take for South Africa to recover, and I'm thinking in economic and social terms, given what has happened in South Africa in our recent past? I mean, we have to accept the fact that we will recover, otherwise there is no future. But what is the reality of that recovery?
Okay, so how long? Thank you.
Look, so my view on my approach to what that recovery will look like is an approach on institutions. What it will, so when you ask that question, I hear in my mind, what would it take to rebuild state institutions? And there, I think that the damage is uneven. Not all municipalities have been affected. Some municipalities are working relatively well. Others are in a state of collapse. What would it take to rebuild SARS? I don't think we know yet because we don't know the extent of the damage at SARS. It might have been fairly superficial. It might be fundamental. We're beginning to get a sense. It's the same with the state-owned enterprises. Eskom is the major liability in the South African economy.